Why is a Philippine English important in the Philippines? So it is important because to satisfy our linguistic curiosity, to establish identity apart from other Englishes of the world, and to get high value from multinationals in a global competition. So today, English is constitutionally named as one of the Philippines' official languages, and it continues to be an integral part of a local life and culture. English is the language of business, science, technology, government, education, and international communication. It is present in the country's print and broadcast media, and in its vibrant artistic and literary scene. Filipino proficiency in English drives as a thriving, world-leading outsourcing industry, as well as a rapidly growing education sector that is attracting increasing number of international students.
The Philippine variety of English has evolved beyond the American standards, having developed distinctive features of pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and discourse determined by the native languages and cultures of its Filipino speakers. It is clear that what once a completely foreign language has been embraced by Filipinos and made their own. It is also true that the continuing presence of English in the Philippines gives rise to a number of very thorny issues related to national and regional identity, educational policy, and language politics. But no matter how these issues are addressed, it cannot be denied that in the little of our country that it has remained and there in their islands, Filipinos with their rich indigenous heritage, colorful colonial history, and multiplicity of language have made an indelible mark on English. As Filipino writer Jimeno Abad famously put in, English is ours. We have colonized it too.
So Filipinos primarily acquire English as a second language or even third language alongside local vernaculars. And we all know that this is true. Especially professionals, they use this as their everyday utterances. A situation that places English in constant contact with other languages and makes borrowing a particularly productive means of lexical innovation. So this is true, no? Because when we use English language manggod in contact with other languages, naatay mga words ana nga mablend, or we call this nga mga other term of that word ba that innovate lexicals. So Philippine English is characterized by a host of words borrowed from a variety of linguistic sources. So yes, Filipinos manggod mahilig tag makihalubilo ba, especially foreigners. We're so good in interacting them. Then when we caught unfamiliar words, i-apply ra ba dayon nato na sa atong mga colleagues that will cause trends or mauso na dayon. So the main ones being Filipino, the Tagalog-based national language, and Spanish, the colonial tongue that preceded English. So loanwords and loan blends such as the following form part of the everyday vocabulary of Philippine English. And these are, first, Balikbayan box. It's year 1984. It is a cartoon shipped or brought to the Philippines from another country by a Filipino who has been living overseas, typically containing items such as food, clothing, toys, and household products. So this is so familiar, no? Especially families of OFWs. Second, barangay. It's year 1840. It is a village, suburb, or other demarcated neighborhood, a small territorial and administrative district forming the most local level of government from Tagalog. So when we say barangay, that's a local level of government. Next, barkada. It's year 1965. A group of friends from Tagalog. This is ultimately from Spanish, no? So barkada or boatload. Next, Despedida Party. It's year 1929. It is a social event honoring someone who is about to leave or to depart on a journey or leave an organization, a going away party, a blend of Spanish and English. Next, estafa. It's year 1903. It is a criminal deception, fraud, dishonest dealing. It's from Spanish. Next, Kikay Kit, year 2002. A soft case in which a woman's toiletries and cosmetics are stored. It is a blend of Tagalog and English. Next, Pandesal, year 1910. It is a yeast raised bread roll made of flour, eggs, sugar, and salt, widely consumed in the Philippines. And this is especially breakfast, and this partly from Tagalog, partly from Spanish. Next, pasalubong. It's year 1933. It is a gift or souvenir given to a friend or relative by a person who has returned from a trip or arrived for a visit. It is from Tagalog. Next, sari-sari store. Year 1925. A small neighborhood store selling a variety of goods. It is blend of Tagalog and English. Next, sisig. It's year 1987. It is a dish consisting of chopped pork or the mascara of the pork, onions, and chilies. It is commonly from Kapampangan. And lastly, the word suki. It's year 1941. So it's a buyer or a seller involved in an arrangement whereby a customer regularly purchases products or services from the same provider in exchange for a favorable treatment. Also, the arrangement itself from Tagalog. So until here my part, thank you.
The status of standard Philippines English errors and features. Today, English is constitutionally named as the one of the Philippines' official languages, and it continues to be an integral part of local life and culture. English is the language of business, science, technology, government, education, and international communication. Philippine English is the language of the educated Filipino. It is the type of English that is acceptable in educated Filipino circles, and it should be therefore be distinguished from creolized forms of English and the type of English which simply mixes Tagalog and English. While American sounds and idioms have become the norm for call centers and FM radio, all other languages-based institutions have resisted the so-called foreign sounds, with some educators even considering the standardization of Philippine English for academic purposes.
The continuation, example, Philippine English traditionally follows American English spelling and grammar, while it shares some similarity to Commonwealth English. Philippine English follows the latter when it comes to punctuation as well as date notations. For example, a comma almost never precedes the final item. In enumeration, much like AP style book and other style guides, in English language journalism generally, except for some very fluent speakers like news anchor, even in English language media, dates are also often read with a cardinal instead of an ordinal number. Most Filipinos say January 1 instead of January 1st or January the 1st. Even if the written forms is the same, this is mostly because educated Filipinos were taught to count English numbers cardinally, thus it's carried over to their style of reading dates. In reading the day, month, year, or date, notation used by some areas in the government, example January 1, it may be pronounced as 1 January instead of the 1st of January, or rearranged to the month first reading January 1. Foreign nationals of Filipino descent, however, may have continued to read dates and English based on the conventions of their birth countries. Perhaps because of this practice, levels of primary pupils and secondary students are usually referred to as grade 1, grade 2, and so on, similar to Canadian English rather than American first grade, second grade, and etc.
Some of the errors in Philippine English is using the sentence, "You're doing great," and the "you're" in the sentence, which is spelled Y-O-U-R. This is a common grammatical error many has fell victim to. The word "your," which is spelled Y-O-U-R, is a possessive noun. Used it to show ownership of something or when addressing the holder of a certain title. For example, "Your Highness," "Your Majesty," or "Your lovely eyes." Your, which is spelled Y-O-U'-R-E, is a contraction of "you are." So instead of "you're doing great," spelled in Y-O-U-R, it should be spelled as "you're doing great," and the "your" is spelled as Y-O-U'-R-E. And do take note, there is no such word as "your" spelled in Y-O-U-R'-R-E'. Some of the features, for example, take the word "take out." It is an American English and usually used in Philippine English. The word "chicks to go," usually American Philippine English. The word "take away," usually British. And lastly, traffic. It is a Philippine English. Traffic, either a noun or a verb, in Philippine English is traffic equals heavy traffic. Another example, the sentence, "Sorry, I'm late. There was traffic." It is the Philippine English. And "sorry, I'm late. The traffic was really bad" is from American English. Thank you.